Good morning. It's Stampin' Thursday, Facebook Live, 10 o'clock Central Time. I hope you're able to join me. Very typical to what I said last week, I just heard my neighbor start up his weed eater. I'm thinking, the word is out. 10 o'clock Thursday morning is the time to do yard work, cut down trees, start up your weed eaters. I don't know. Anyway, I don't think you can hear it, so that's a good thing. Thank you for joining me this morning, and we are going to, I'm going to show you how to go all the way from really not a beginner, and I'll tell you why when we do it, but a casual card, how to make a casual card, all the way to turning it into an avid card. So no matter where you are on the spectrum, you're going to get something that you can use from this session today. So I'm going to go ahead and move the camera over because I do want to tell you about the October class to go, but I want to show you what you be getting with that class, and then we're going to get started with the cards. So again, thank you for being here with us live, and if you're watching the replay, thank you for doing that. I'd love to know that you're watching the replay. So if you just comment and say, got to watch the replay. Another awesome thing to do would be to share this video. Just right under where you're watching it, just share. And share it with someone else that you think might benefit from this, someone that would enjoy it. Sharing the video helps me a lot. It helps me in my presence on Facebook, and I want to reach more people, so thank you for doing that. All right, I'm going to move the camera, so I'm going to block it so you don't get dizzy. Hold on. One of these days, this is going to get really easy. I think. One more time. Let me move it one more time. All right. I think we're good. Okay. So, to start off with, I want to tell you about the October class to go. And let me get my computer up here. Let me refresh so I can see. Make sure that the video is coming through. Looks like it is. And see who's on here. So if you're watching, be sure and let me know. Comment and say I'm here. Hi. So I know you're there. All right. This is for the October class to go. This is the Biggest Wish stamp set. And this is just the coolest stamp set ever. And because I use it so much, I thought, I'm going to offer it in the October class to go. So, with that class, you'll get this stamp set. You'll get everything you need to make these cards. That card. And see, that we'll use this stamp set on each of these cards. This card, again, is how we used it. This card, and this card. So I tried to include a masculine card so that we all need masculine cards, right? And this one is an interesting fold. So you'll get everything you need, all the supplies to make these cards. You'll get a PDF full color tutorial with photos. You'll get the Biggest Wish stamp set, and you'll get a package of the genial gems. And those gems are used on a couple of the cards. These two cards, the genial gems are used on those. So you'll be using your own genial gems. You'll be using your stamp set. But you'll get everything else. All the trim, all the cardstock, all the paper, everything you need to make these cards. And all of that for $35. Now, the add-on for this particular set to go is 2 paper packs, designer paper packs. The paper pack, the designer series paper that I used on this card and that I use on this card are both going to be a part of the add-on. So this is the Beauty of the Earth designer series paper. I don't know if you can, there's a glare on it. This paper is so versatile, and it's wonderful paper, and it makes great masculine cards and fall cards. So this paper pack and this Expressions in Ink paper pack, this pack is beautiful. It's this one right here, and it's got specks of gold in it. In fact, I want to show you just a sample or two, a couple of pieces of the paper. I don't know if you can see the glimmer of the gold. Can you see that? Let's see. Yes, I see that you can see it. There's gold in these papers, and then the colors. It's got that artistic inky look. That's one of the artistic inky looks. And then this one, of course, is the gold stripe. And that's when the colors, the blended colors, are just gorgeous. And then look at this paper. Look at that. Can you see the gold? Can. So, oops, that's the same thing. Not only, here's the pink. Isn't that pretty? Not only am I going to demo one of these cards next week on our Facebook Live, I'm going to show you a way that you can use that paper. Because sometimes people look at this, not this, they look at this, or they look at this, and they go, well, how am I going to use that? Well, I'm going to show you some ways that you can get multiple cards out of this one piece of paper. So, that's next week. So, our October, so the add-on is $26 for the 2 packs of designer series paper. Your Beauty of the Earth and your Expressions in Ink designer series paper. The add-on is $26, and I pay for the shipping and the tax on the add-on. So for $35, you get the Biggest Wish stamp set, the Genial Gems, and everything you need to make these 4 cards. You'll get the card kits and the instructions. And for the add-on, you'll get the 2 paper packs for $26. Now, if you have one of those already, then you can substitute one of equal value. Just let me know. So, if you want it mailed to you after I get everything in, the priority mail cost is $8. So, that's the October class to go, and you have to RSVP for that class by October 14th. And then everything will come in, and the kits will be ready for you by the 27th. No later than October 27th. I'm going to be gone that middle week in October. We're going to help keep grandkids, so that kind of pushes things out a little bit. All right, so that's the October class to go. Now, we're going to get started with today's class, and I am using, for today's class, I'm using the Daisy Garden stamp. Now, this is one large stamp. And you think, how would I use one large stamp? I'm going to show you today a few of the ways to use this one large stamp. But I'm also going to show you how you can do these cards with a smaller stamp as well. So, the Daisy Garden stamp And I have it in my Stamparatus. Because it's such a large stamp, you can see how big it is. It's easier for me to do it in my Stamparatus. But you can also use a smaller stamp. This is from the Dragonfly Garden stamp set. So I'm going to show you how to use a smaller stamp to create one of these cards too. Now, using my Stamparatus, I first created this beginner, or this is actually a casual card. And the reason it's not considered a beginner card is because it has more than one layer. The base, the card base, is crumb cake. But then the card front layer is basic white. So the card base is 5.5 by 8.5 crumb cake. This first layer is 4 by 5.25. So this is considered a casual card. A beginner card you would stamp right onto the card base. Okay? All right. So we're going to look at this casual card. We're also going to look at the way to do it with the other stamp that I showed you, with the Dragonfly Garden stamp. Using this one, I wanted to show you that you don't have to have a great big stamp to do these cards. You can also use a smaller stamp. In fact, we're going to use the smaller one to create this casual card. You can see that it's got 2 layers. This one doesn't have the twine. This one instead has 3 gems. So that also would help it to be a casual card as opposed to a beginner card. I can see that I'm going to have to move my mat down a little bit so I don't go off the screen. All right, so let's create this casual card. We're going to use our crumb cake base and our 4 by 5.25 card front. And I'm going to stamp with this Dragonfly Garden stamp, and I'm going to use Blackberry Bliss ink. So I'm going to ink up my stamp, and the first time I stamp, I'm going to stamp over here to the left, and I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. So I'll be stamping off onto this mat. So I'm going to bring it down and put that one there. Ink it again. And I'm going to bring it way down this time. And stamp it here. And then I'll raise this one up just a little bit and go off the edge over here on the right and stamp it here. Alright, so I've got my base, my card front stamp. I'm going to go ahead right now and clean my stamp with my chamois, because if I don't, I'll forget and lay my hand on it and then you'll really be in trouble. Alright, and let's see. Let me find my Dragonfly Garden, because I did not. Here we go. I didn't get the little dragonflies, and I want to use those. So this is the Dragonfly Garden stamp set. Whoops. This is the Dragonfly Garden stamp set. This is the one I just used, and I'm getting ready to use this one right here. So, also in the Blackberry Bliss, I'm just going to stamp right here. I just want them flying around. You could just leave it like that, but I think I'm going to put a few more right here. There we go. Alright, we've got a whole slew of dragonflies and butterflies flying around. Alright, clean my stamp and then put it away. So we have created a card front, and all we need now is our sentiment. I closed up my Blackberry Bliss, and I shouldn't have done that. All we need now is a sentiment, and I'm using the sentiment, "May good things grow all year long," and I'm just going to put it right up here. There we go. Clean my stamp again. Put it away. Alright, so we are ready now to add our card front to our card base, which I will do using my Stamp and Seal. And put it on in the center. Here we go. We're going to add, these are the 2020-2022 in color enamel dots. And you can see I've used almost all of them. I'm going to have to use some more before they go away. And I'm going to add 3 of those. I'm trying to tie it in with my crumb cake base. So you could use any color. Come on. It's not picking up. There. So I'm going to add one over here. Now, keeping in mind, this is a casual card. Casual card. And I have to admit, casual cards are hard for me to do because I want to dress it up. I want to do more to it. So you also don't have to have nearly as many supplies to create the casual card. All right, we're done with our enamel dots. And looky there, we have now got a card. Looks like I should have put my dot. And that's one way we can fix things, is to put, if we have a little spot of ink, just put a dot over it and it goes away. So that's our casual card. And I would put white inside to write on. Okay. So we could also do it with our Daisy Garden stamp, our big one. And you just stamp it one time. And I added some string, some twine, and put hello up here because there wasn't as much room. All right, casual cards. Great way to get a batch of cards together that you need for an event. Now we're going to step up that casual card just a little bit. So you can see here how I stepped it up. Let me check over here. I see that Clint is watching and Kay is watching. Good morning. I know Clint is over at our a good friend's house watching, taking care of their dog this morning. So I think he said that he and Smokey are outside watching. All right, this is stepped up just a little bit. And the way it's stepped up, we use the same stamp, same string, but we've got now 1, 2, 3 layers on top of the card base instead of just the 1 layer on top of the card base. So you can see how that really steps this card up. So we have the white 4 by 5 1/4 base, and then we have a Blackberry Bliss matte, which is 4 3/4 by 3 1/2, the matte. And then we have a crumb cake card front. So I used my Stamparatus and I stamped onto the crumb cake card front. So before I attached the card front to the mat, I put the string around it and tied it. And then instead of stamping the sentiment directly onto the card front, I stamped it onto another piece of crumb cake, and I just cut it and bannered the ends. So for a true friend. So that card is stepped up a little bit. from your casual card. You can see the difference. Move this over here. There you go. There's the difference in the casual card and the stepped up card. Now, we're going to step it up one more time. This time, I've got the same 3 layers, but I stamped an extra crumb cake piece. I stamped it twice. I stamped it once for the card front. I stamped it a second time so that I could fussy cut 1 or 2. I did 2, but you could do 1 or 2 of the flowers and added it to the card front with a dimensional, and it just gives it a little bit of dimension, just a little bit of dimension, and that steps the card up just a little bit. I did the same thing then. I just put my sentiment on a piece of crumb cake, and I used a die cut this time to cut my sentiment out instead of just cutting it with the trimmer. And then I added, this time I'm using the twine, and I just tied a bow and put it under the flower that I fussy cut. I don't know if you can see how it adds dimension to the card. I also put dimensionals under the sentiment, and then I added 3 gems. Now these gems, let me get it out. I didn't keep it out because I didn't think about showing you. These are the rhinestone basic jewels, and I colored it with my Blackberry Bliss blender pen to match the card. So you can do that. I didn't have any Blackberry Bliss gems, so I colored one of my rhinestone basic jewels, or colored 3 of them, to add to this card. And then I used a little bit of Winter Stella right in the center of those 2 flowers that are already popped up. Adds just a little bit more interest, steps it up just a little bit from this card. Got it? All right. Now, I had to come up with a way to step it up just a little bit more. I thought, okay, what can I do to step this up even more? And I decided for the next one that I would use embossing powder. So this one is stamped onto the Blackberry Bliss. So it actually only has 1, 2, 3 layers. But I stamped it onto the Blackberry Bliss using my Stamparatus and Versamark ink, and then I sprinkled gold embossing powder on it and used my heat gun to set it. So instead of stamping on the crumb cake with the Blackberry Bliss ink, I stamped onto the Blackberry Bliss, and I used Versamark and gold embossing powder. And then I'll talk about the other elements in a minute. Well, I stamped the sentiment on the crumb cake, and I cut it just regular. I just used my trimmer and cut it and bannered the ends. But I also added some pieces from our Expressions in Ink ephemera pack. These are gold pieces, and I added a couple of them here and a couple of them down here just to add a little more interest to this card that was already a lot of gold. And then I added my gold trim instead of the braided linen twine. I added the gold trim. So that's how I stepped this up. And this, well, and then the inside, I used my Color and Contour, the die from that, and I had a piece left that I cut off of the end of this when I trimmed it down, and so I ran them both through the cutting with the die and added that for the inside. So this is an Avid card. This added more dimension, more layers, more embellishments. And of course it added the fact that I used the embossing powder, the gold embossing powder. So we're going to make this one real quick. Set that right there. Grab my supplies. Here they are. I thought I had them all ready to go. Where are they? Alright. So, we have our card base, which is 5.5 by 8.5. Scored in the center at 4 1/4 and folded. We have our white piece, which is 4 by 5 1/4. We have our what did I do? Oh yeah, okay. We have our crumb cake mat, which is 3 1/4. Let's see. No, it's 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. That's the mat. And then the piece that we're going to stamp, I'll cut it down to 3 by 4 1/4. And then we have our sentiment piece. We have our, get these pieces turned over, our pieces out of the gold, the Expressions in Ink ephemera pack. I bought 2 of those packs because I use these gold pieces all the time. So set those aside. And then we'll also be using the gold trim from the Simply Elegant trim pack. So we'll be using the gold out of that. Alright, so let me set these aside right now, and I'm going to go ahead and do my card front. So I'm going to take my Blackberry Bliss piece. I've marked on my pad in here where my piece will go, just to make it easier. This is a great way to create multiple copies of something. And alright, so what I have to do is see where I'm going to have some space to put my magnets. That one will go there. This one will go here without interfering with the stamp. And the very edge of my big one will go right there. Alright, that should be enough. So the first thing I'm going to do before I put Versamark ink on is get my embossing buddy and go over this so I won't have any stray pieces of embossing powder. Then I'm going to use my Versamark ink, and I'm going to ink up my very large stamp. I bet I'm shaking the table, aren't I? I don't know how to keep from that. Sorry about that. Alright, let's see if we got it. I think we did. And then I'll take my embossing buddy, or my Stamparatus. Move that over a little bit so that'll come down. There we go. And make sure that I have applied pressure over the areas where I want the ink to apply. And I'm going to look it over and make sure that I got it all. And I see a place that typically does not do as well, and I don't know why. There must be, I don't know, something with that stamp that prevents it from picking up the Versamark ink, because it happens on every one of them. So I go back, but that's the wonderful thing about the about the Stamparatus, is you can go back and fill in. It's a little harder to see where to fill in with Versamark ink, but you can see it. I can see it when I get in an angle. And I'm gonna come down here and do these a little more too. The ones in the center. The center's always a little harder, so this should get it. This should do it. Right there. Huh. One more time. Right in that one spot. That did it. All right. So now we have our piece ready to go. And I don't want to touch it where the ink is. So I'm going to pick it up about here where there's a blank space. Put my stamp apparatus away. Don't need it. I'll have to clean it later. All right. And now for the gold embossing powder. I keep all my embossing powder in these little containers. It makes it so easy, and I keep a spoon in it. Alright, so here we go. Put the powder over the card, give it a good tap. Put a little more down in the corner, give it a good tap. Turn it. Powder over this part of the card. I love embossing powder. Love using it. So easy. It really is so easy. Alright. And I see where I got. Oh no, that's because there was another little piece of that. That's okay if it didn't take. Because I wiped it off. In fact, I think I'll wipe it off again. So it just won't do anything more. Alright. Close this up so it doesn't get heated. Move it over here. Get my heat gun. And go for it. Watch it. I don't know if you can see it come to life. But it will start here in a minute. Oops. Let's see. Yeah, there it goes. There it goes. You can tell exactly where it has heated and where it needs more heat by watching it change colors. So pretty. Alright, I'm going to have to switch my position here to get the rest of it. I think we got it all. Alright, just that easy. Now we have our embossed card front. Give it a shake, cool it off a little bit. Okay, now we're ready to assemble our card. So we're going to do this. So to me, creating an avid card isn't so much about talent. It isn't about talent because I'm not an artistically talented person. Anybody can take Versamark ink and gold embossing powder and do the very same thing that I did. And I see I've got some ink on here. These little, all of these erasers, this is probably the one that's most available now at an office supply store, but I still use this old one of mine, neither of which are Stampin' Up. They don't offer an eraser, which maybe they should. I use mine all the time. All right, and then we're going to add our mat. Try to get it centered from the side here. Okay. And now we don't have to worry about putting twine around it because we're putting the twine on the front. So we're just going to add our card front. Oh, I forgot to cut it down. I have to cut it down to 3 by 4 1/4. Oh, this is going to be fun with the sticky on the back. 3 by 4 1/4, and I'm going to cut it off the bottom So the 4 1/4 is going to come off the bottom. Jeez. The inner. Yeah, it's going to stick to my trimmer. 3. So my 3, I want my bud over here to show. So I'm going to take the 3 off of this end. I'm having to do it upside down because I messed up. There we go. Let me throw these away because they're sticky. Now, it was hard to decide where to trim that because I love the whole thing. I love the bottom, but I wanted the top flower to show. So now, more. Come on. You were doing so well. All right, now, now it looks better. Yes, all right. So we're ready for our sentiment, which is hope each moment of your day is as special as you are. I'm going to use my Stampin' Pierce mat because this is a photopolymer stamp. So I need to, and I've got this piece of paper over it so I don't get ink on it. I'm going to use my Blackberry Bliss ink. So we've only used one ink, the Versamark. Well, on this card we've used Versamark and Blackberry Bliss. On the others we've just used Blackberry Bliss. Alright, I'm going to turn it this way. Stamp my sentiment on it. Turned out pretty straight. I'm not real good at doing straight. Alright, here we go. I'm going to banner this, flip the center, come from the ends. Flip the center. Whoops, I want to trim some of that off. Flip the center. Come from the ends. I don't measure, neither does the person who gets the card. So it's okay. I have come out of a lot of my perfectionism. Alright, and now we're going to put our banner on, our sentiment with dimensionals. I'll just use one of the ends here. One of the end pieces. How long is that? About that long. Because I'm out of this sheet, and I don't know where my other sheet is. I love using the end pieces though. And I'm going to have to trim that one just a little bit. So get it up, trim it. Now I've got me a great piece to put my sentiment on with. Right in the center of the bottom. Now for my ephemera, my gold pieces. I'm just going to tuck them in. Let's see. And I'm going to use a little bit of my green glue on the bottom. It doesn't take much. Come on, green glue. You can do it. Let's see. Maybe there's still a piece stuck there. Am I going to have to get a pen? You know, always the case. Always, always. Let's see if I got it this time. Nope. Alright, that's why I keep straight pens right handy so that I can just poke the end. Get it going. Now, it'll come squirting out. See? What did I say? It'll come squirting out. So that's the piece that was stuck in there. Alright, that one's going to go right down in here. Out there. And these two, I'm going to stick in the bottom. Good grief. It is squirting out. I need one of my rags. And I keep rags handy just for this purpose. Alright, let's try this again. Yeah, once you get it going, it just pours out. Alright, we're going to stick that one right there. We don't want it to come off the edge because we don't want it to interfere with the envelope. So I'm going to trim this one just a little bit. Put some more glue right on the bottom. And stick it. My hands are sticky. Stick it right there. That's why that little eraser is wonderful. It takes the glue off. Now, it may make a mess at first, but it will eventually take the glue off. All right. That's because my hands are sticky. So let me grab a wet wipe. And right here. Okay. And get the glue off my hands from where I messed up with the background. All right, here we go. All right, and so all we lack is our twine. So you can see the Avid card uses more embellishments. That's probably a key to it. Now this is a double bow. So I need about 20 inches of ribbon to make my double bow. And that's another characteristic of the Avid card, is that you use things that you might not normally use. Let me get this off. So I have a YouTube video about tying a double bow, so I'm just going to do it, and you can go look up that YouTube video and find out how to tie a double bow. It is really so easy, so very, very easy, but I'm not going to take the time right now to give a double bow lesson. Hope you understand that. All right. It's just grabbing the ends that's hard for me. Okay, it's about the size I want. I'm going to clamp it down, get it off my fingers. I didn't need quite 20 inches, did I? Maybe 16 inches. All right. Double bow. We're going to put it on with a glue dot. And you know what? We have finished this Avid card. I did not have to use 1 ounce of creativity, of artistic talent. I just put the elements on the card. There we go. There is our Avid card. So we went from, I'll grab these back up here. I don't think, let me see if I can move this up just a little bit. All right, we went from a very casual card, which used either just twine or the embellishments, the Enamel Dots. We went from that to a stepped up card, which used more layers. I just used more layers and a popped up sentiment. To stepped up a little more, where we stamped the image twice and cut pieces out of one of them. And you could use any stamp for this. Any stamp for this. And used a little bit of Wink of Stella, and put our string over here by the popped up element. And then we went to the Avid, which was gold embossed on the Blackberry Bliss, and we added a few more elements. So here we go. Isn't that fun? It's so fun to do that, and to see, really, the steps are not hard. So I hope that you benefited from this. If you're a beginner stamper, please give it a try. Give it a try. And if you're watching the replay, I hope that you'll pull something out of this that you can use. And if you have any questions, let me know. You can message me. You can comment under the video. I'll be putting this video on YouTube in just a little while. So if you're not a Facebook person, or if you have a friend who's not a Facebook person, go find the YouTube video under Deanna Blackman. Just look up Deanna Blackman, and go to my channel and share that YouTube video with your friend who's not a Facebook person, so that others can benefit from this too. Next week, I'm going to be talking more about the class to go, and I'll be not only making one of the cards from the October class to go, but I'm going to show you some additional ways that you can use this Expressions of Ink paper to where it just looks like you've spent hours working on it, and you've really only just done a little bit of cutting and gluing down. All right. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And you have a great upcoming weekend. God bless you.